Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about a recent interview that came out today, actually from Entertainment Weekly, which confirms the new walkers here, and there's actually a new name for them, and they're called the bioluminescent walkers. And so I want to get into everything that we learned about the walkers here and get into some of the new details regarding, I guess, the story of the super walkers this season, because obviously they were a big part of season 1, and they'll be an even bigger part of season 2 here. So yeah, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. 5 more days until the show is here, and I am very excited for that. I cannot wait to watch this first episode. It feels like we've been waiting for this show for a very long time, and I think that's sort of the problem with announcing the release date as summer, right? Because we all expected the show to be out in like June or July, but then they pushed it off until the end of September. So it's just felt like we've had to wait for this for so long now, and yeah, now it's finally here, right? In 5 more days, we'll be watching the very first episode here, and I cannot wait. And the one thing I really can't wait for is the new walkers here that we're going to be seeing. So I got this here from an article from Entertainment Weekly, so I'll leave a link down below to the article. Definitely go and check it out here. But they actually talk about the new walkers here, and what's interesting is, I mean, obviously they talk about the super walkers, but they talk about the walkers that we see in the trailer that are called like the bioluminescent walkers or something like that. So I don't know if that's the official name, but they're basically glow-in-the-dark walkers in some sense. But in this excerpt right here, actually, Entertainment Weekly discusses, I guess, how Greg Nicotero came up with the idea for the bioluminescent zombies. And yeah, it says, so how did they create these new bioluminescent hungry ones? During the strike, I came back to the States last year and we were talking about the bioluminescent zombies, Nicotero tells Entertainment Weekly, and 70% of that was practical effects. We had LED lights, and we also had this black light wildfire system where we would paint the backside of a silicone prosthetics with a black light activated bioluminescent paint, and if you watch the outtakes of that scene, you'll literally see my team standing there with black lights right on the zombies' faces. The article then continues saying, but it turns out they could only film these special zombies for 2 minutes at a time. We did stuff where we were able to make the inside of the mouth glow, Nicotero reveals. So a lot of it was just hiding stuff, not only in the wardrobe, but then underneath the skin, painting the silicone appliances from underneath, painting some stuff on top, and then you knew that once you would charge it right before the take, you would have probably 120 seconds of really strong interactive light before it started to fade. So there was a lot of running in and charging it and coming out, and then VFX just sort of amped it up. And so that I feel like is really incredible. And honestly, when I watch this scene, I'm going to have a lot of appreciation for, I guess, the scene in general here. And that's one of the things about the budget being much higher is that we can actually see a lot of really incredible zombies now, right? Like beforehand, it was just very basic zombies, I would say, for the most part. Maybe you would have like different variations of this zombie having a bunch of mold or like being stuck in a tree, or you'd have a spider coming out of its skull or something like that. But like for the most part, zombies have generally been, you know, I guess not like the zombies we have now. Like obviously still very creative, but like now we're getting super walkers, we're getting burners, and now we're getting bioluminescent zombies, right? So to me, when I look at that, I think that's really exciting because season 3, I feel like obviously they're just gonna make the zombies even more crazy, right? And so I'm really excited to see how they're going to pull this off here, and it's really incredible to think that there's actual people here in some of these shots, like very close up. I really can't wait to see the outtakes of this scene. I believe this scene takes place in episode 5 or 6. It seems to be based off of some of their early reviews anyways. They were saying in like the last episode or the second to last episode or something like that anyways, there was supposed to be some really cool zombies that we see. And so, I mean, that's exciting. You know, if this is going to be towards the end of the season, I really wonder what that means for the story, right? Because obviously the super walkers are something that we're really interested in, because I can't wait to see what that means for the future of The Walking Dead. And I am kind of expecting, you know, the Super Walker arc to end at some point this season, because I don't think you could really continue that into season 3 or 4. I mean, you could, but I just feel like, you know, this arc is going to end with Madame Gené's story. Like the second that Madame Gené's story ends, the Super Walker story will end. But I think that they're still going to do very similar things in season 3. We'll have different type of walkers, and it'll be also as exciting. Like I still think they're going to keep continuing that, and they're going to keep advancing the walkers and whatnot, because people obviously really love the super fast walkers. And so I think that they're going to do that no matter what. And Greg Nicotero actually talks about that here in this article here. He actually says, Now we have a better indication in season 2 of how these Ampers play a really important part in Janae's quest for power. Nicotero says, we wanted to make sure that they looked different, so we went with black contact lenses. And so I know that that's more of the official name, I believe, for the walkers. They're called the Dark Eyes or something like that. I personally prefer to call them super walkers because I think, I mean, obviously, yes, their eyes go very dark, but they're very fast and they just look absolutely insane when they're starting to like turn into the super walkers. And so I just prefer to call them that, like literally super walkers. And what's really interesting here is what he said regarding the super walkers and how important they are for Madame Janae and her quest for power. So we know that we're going to be getting this flashback scene to like Outbreak Day where we see the apocalypse happen and we see where Madame Janae was when it first happened and how she tried to survive and everything. And obviously she did survive, but how all that worked. And I guess why she wants the super walkers and how the super walkers will actually help her, maintain her power or get more power, right? And so I do think, in terms of a prediction of mine, I feel like it's going to be pretty simple in terms of an explanation. I think that, obviously she's using the super walkers as weapons, right? And if she can use the super walkers to sort of gain more power, she has the best and strongest walkers basically like in the world, right? At least as of now, as of what we know. And so that's one of the things that I really want to see from The Walking Dead going forward is, certain powers like Madame Janae and Pouvoir using walkers as weapons and then seeing other groups like the CRM or maybe the new group in Spain, starting to do that as well. And then walkers are becoming more and more dangerous, right? Like I think that is sort of where you want to go next with The Walking Dead. Like going back to like very basic zombies again, I just think is, I think for other spinoffs you can do that because obviously I think that's fine, but eventually you want to go in a direction like this. And I think that's what fans really want. Like a lot of fans really want the super walkers and they want walkers to be a lot more terrifying because people really like that survival aspect and the fact the show is about zombies. And so when you focus more on the other stuff and if you're ending the super walker arc, like again, people are going to be disappointed with that depending on how they do it and depending on what they set up for a season 3. Like that's the thing about it all, right? Like you need to set up season 3 really well. And if you set up season 3 really well, then I think fans will be, happy with that. I think fans just really want to see super walkers. And I really do as well. Like super walkers were something that was just so exciting. Like seeing it at the end of World Beyond was really, really exciting. And I hope that Gimple and some of the, I guess writers and whatnot haven't forgotten a lot of, why fans have been so excited over the last couple of years. And yes, obviously The Ones Who Live was a part of it, seeing Rick Grimes. And yes, we'll see Rick Grimes in the future again. But like that wasn't really the most exciting part to it. And the one thing about The Ones Who Live that fans weren't really happy with was the fact that it focused on this epic love story, right? Like I think a lot of fans obviously who want or miss Rick and Michonne were happy with that. And I overall am happy with the story that they told. But you do want more of that classic Walking Dead story, where it's not so much focused on that and you have Rick and Michonne killing zombies and there's this whole other threat out there, this and that, and it's like very cool, right? Like I think that's the one thing that, for the most part everyone likes, and I think that that's what was missing from The Ones Who Live, and that's what was so exciting about, I would say, Daryl Dixon season 1 and Dead City season 1 and a lot of what they set up beforehand. And so the super walkers are obviously another part to The Walking Dead that fans really, really like. And I've been seeing a lot of comments about that saying, oh, I really can't wait to watch Daryl Dixon season 2 because this is going to feel like real Walking Dead. And I do feel like that as well. I'm really excited for the season. It's getting a lot of great reviews, but I worry about the future. And I hope that they do understand that, like, yes, you don't always have to keep super walkers around because if you think about it, how long can you really keep them around for? Can you keep them around for like 4 or 5 seasons? No. Like eventually they're going to get kind of boring, right? So you do need to change things up here and there and make stuff way more exciting. And so I just hope that for season 3, they do that because it's just something that has been so exciting. And I can't wait to see some more of the explanations behind why the super walkers, I guess, became a thing and like some of the connections to Dr. Jenner. Like why was that a connection there? Like why was Dr. Jenner in the post-credit scene? Like there's a lot of things like that I hope they didn't forget about. But these walkers look absolutely incredible. I've noticed that actually with the super walkers that they do look a little more, I guess, realistic. Like I noticed that at least from the trailer, you see some people actually turning to super walkers and it looks like, yeah, they're just wearing contacts. And what's insane is that we're going to see a lot of them, right? Like I think in the first season we saw 2, maybe 3, I guess 3 in total, maybe actually 4. No, I think we saw 3 only, but we saw like the burners and stuff. But with this season, we're going to see a lot of them. I do wonder how much it's going to matter overall to the story. The one thing that we heard a lot about in the early reviews was that Carol and Madame Janae are going to have a really close relationship, and I'm really excited to see what that means, because obviously Carol being with Madame Genet at Pouvoir, I feel like at first she's not going to really realize that she's a villain. Maybe she's very suspicious, this and that, but then over time realizes you are a villain sort of thing, right? And maybe questions a lot of what's happening with the Superwalkers. And I'm really curious about that, because Carol is the one person that is going to ask all the right questions when it comes to, finding out more about the Superwalkers and why she's doing what she's doing. And it would just be crazy if like Madame Genet died because she became a Superwalker, or if like she turned herself into a Superwalker at the very end. Like, I do wonder how all of this is going to end, because Norman Reedus was saying that like the last episode is like the best 1 hour of anything Walking Dead ever, or whatever he said. And I've seen a lot of people, talking about that because they've watched the episode and they're like, they kind of disagree a little bit, but it is very much up there. And they're saying, if anything, the whole season may be like the best season of The Walking Dead ever, but I don't know about that one episode specifically. And so that obviously has me really excited for this season. So I can't wait to see how great this season is going to be. Seeing Daryl and Carol again is going to be really amazing, because, I mean, obviously for Carol, we've barely seen a lot of her, right? Like, we saw her a little bit in season 1, but really this is like her first official return to The Walking Dead since The Walking Dead ended, right? So yeah, I'm very excited. So post your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.